Rant summer is here. Head on over to AJsRANTroom.com. We got all of your summer needs covered. From bathing suits to swim trunks, flip-flops and tote bags, towels, tanks, and muscle shirts. Oh, and you can't forget about the visors and the hats. It's lit. So head on over to AJsRANTroom.com and get your summer poppin'. You won't be disappointed. It's always lit over at AJsRANTroom.com. We got the best bags and accessories, our beloved Black Series. We got fresh lids for you hat lovers, fire jackets and hoodies, and of course we got you covered on the t-shirts. And introducing our first shoe line, Aloysius Germain. So get on over to AJsRANTroom.com today and get to shopping. You won't be disappointed. What's good, people? What's good? What's good? Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to my lunchtime rant. I'm your boy AJ. How do? Welcome in, welcome in. We got a lot to cover today. Apparently, I'm the drama. I didn't know I was the drama. I thought I was just, living my good old life in these here ex YouTube streets. Apparently, I pissed off one of my favorite YouTubers a while ago and didn't realize I was blocked on X, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, Candace. You good, girl? We need to talk. Now, I probably agree with about 50% of her takes. How she came into the movement is a little sus. Her social autopsy site is a little sus. How she attained the name Blexit is a bit sus. We'll try to cover as much of that as possible over the next few minutes. But the one thing that has been apparent through this whole process is Israel. There's been a strong gripe with Israel. Candace is clearly, I don't even want to say not a fan. She was not, she don't care for Israel. I'll just leave it right there. The one through line through everything, watching all of these videos and preparing for this show, is she is very, I'm not about Israel, which to a degree, I agree with her, right? Again, I said about 50% of the takes I agree with. About 50%, I'm in. I understand. I get it. I do have questions about the United States, like over allegiance to Israel. Every president, Republican, Democrat, does not matter. There's just this hyper allegiance, and I get it. To a degree, right? But when it becomes this thing where we're sort of defying ourselves to which defying our constituents to fulfill a mission that ain't got nothing to do with us. That whole thing with Iran that they set off ain't got nothing to do with us. And so yeah, I did have questions when Trump decided to get involved and not only get involved but send soldiers over to you know strike 3 nuclear alleged places where nuclear weapons were being built. Okay, great. I was totally against it. I didn't understand it. I was, but Candace has been on this anti-Trump movement for a while. um, Probably since December. And it really started, well, obviously it started with the whole Daily Wire thing and the whole October 7th thing and then, her advocating for Palestinian children not being, killed and all of that stuff, which any sane human being, obviously you don't want children to die. So no one's going to say that that was acceptable. At least no sane person will say that's acceptable, right? But again, um is it my fight? No, it's not, and whatever happened on October 7th, the Israeli government knows what really happened, whatever's going on over there. Not that I don't care, I just don't have a strong interest. So it doesn't mean I'm inhumane and I don't care about human life, but I feel like I'm on this America first thing and I'm literally about America first, right? And so when I start to see things that don't look like it's really going in that direction, I have to start questioning some things, right? And so I was like, oh, so what's this? What's going on over here? And I noticed we were getting a little more involved in Israel than I would like, right? And it was sort of like it became more pressing than the issues we Trump campaigned on, and but then you had to understand that Trump was also being obstructed at every end, by these rogue radical judges who have now been told to shut up and let Trump do his job, which is a good thing. Hallelujah. But I just don't. Yeah. So here's the thing. I ain't got no gripe with Candace, but the gripe that I have with a lot of these social media influencers is that a lot of what they do is not because they care about the truth. They care about um, disseminating the truth or talking about the realities of situations. A lot of it's just for money, right? And I don't know if y'all recall when Candace first came into this whole thing, red pill black and the social autopsy stuff. And now that I think back at it, on it, she was on Joe Rogan very early on in this process, very early. How do you get a booking on Joe Rogan? I believe it was Joe Rogan, right? It was Joe Rogan. And this is before she was even clear on her positions on many conservative topics, right? And so she was literally just either filibustering or she just was clear that she wasn't fully read up on it and she doesn't really know. I don't understand how that person gets a seat on Joe Rogan. How does that newbie who is still learning get a seat on Joe Rogan? I got questions. Now that we look back at this tenure here, because this was from 2016. This is a woman who voted for Hillary Clinton. This was a woman who was a liberal, a Democrat by every metric, um, which is fine. If you change your position, you could change your mind if you want to. I don't care about that. That's not the issue I'm having here. The issue is just how you got here and why were you sort of put at the pinnacle when there were so many other. If y'all, because let's be clear, the DEI thing exists on both sides. Let's be clear, the we need a black friend exists on both sides. Right? It exists on both sides. And so Republicans, conservatives, Trump needed a black friend. And she was chosen as the black friend, which was interesting because there were so many other formidable black voices and black conservatives who could have taken up the mantle. And for some reason, Candace was the chosen one. Even though she hadn't fully fleshed out why she was a conservative or why, she was, why she didn't vote for Trump and all of that stuff. It was just weird. And so getting on that platform, not really understanding what you stand for. Here's the thing: go away and figure out what you really believe. That's like the people that go from non-binary to he to she to they to them every week. Why don't you go in your cocoon, go through all the processes, right? All the theys, all the he's, all the she's, and then when you decide what you are, you come out and emerge from your cocoon and say, "Hey, world, this is what I am." What was her name? Demi Lovato. Now she's a woman again. When you do all of this confusing stuff, it's like weird. But you come into this experience, and then it's just sort of weird how you got so much media attention out the gate. You made like a couple of YouTube videos, and all of a sudden you're like the belle of the ball. And I was like, okay, cool. I wasn't really vocal politically before Trump. I was just like, I voted for who I voted for. I pretty much kept my mouth shut. And it wasn't really taboo to be a Republican before that point. Like you could say I'm a Republican in New York, and no one would really like try to run you over with their car. But now, it might be a little different, but then you could say it. But, after Trump, it became an issue, right? And so there was like this little subgroup of Black conservatives, Black Republicans who were back behind Trump. Um, it was uh, it was Tatum, it was Candace, um, and there were a couple other people. I can't remember their names right now, but it was a small group, right? It wasn't popular in 2016. In 2015, when I voted for Trump, it wasn't popular, right? It wasn't sexy. There wasn't, 2,000 live streams with Black people with red hats on, and you're like, oh Jesus. Now y'all get the fruits of the labor after we got kicked in the head 9 million times, right? But it's cool. It is what it is. So that small group sort of began to splinter. And then there was one person in that group. I don't know if y'all know who she is. Her name is Tree of Logic. And she has a YouTube channel here. She has several. One called Treehouse News, one is called Tree of Logic. And she was part of that small group of people, along with Candace and Brandon Tatum, et cetera, et cetera. I think like Amazing Lucas might have been a part of that group as well. But anyway, so apparently Tree of Logic was part of her life was put on the line when Candace Owens's social autopsy became a thing, and she was on that list. Now she's a former police officer. She had gotten her life threatened by people she had put away, and having this information readily available to anybody and anyone on the internet is dangerous, right? So from day one, she is not like Candace Owens. She don't mess with her. Nothing. Don't Candace Owens, nothing. Don't like her, don't mess with her, don't respect her, thinks she's a grifter, all of that stuff. Now to a degree, and I'm always like, Candace says some cool things, you say some cool things. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And so, and I was always a little more on the Tree of Logic side because she's a really like right wing, like really conservative, whatever, whatever. But she can go a bit off the rails. And apparently, I'm the drama. So before I get into her talking about Candace, because she did a great live stream. I watch her live stream a couple times a week. I don't get to catch all of them, but she did one yesterday about Candace Owens, and she's been a long time since she's done one about Candace. And so that's basically how Republicans are starting to see Candace for what she really is, or what they perceive she really is. And so I watched a lot. I watched not all of it, but I watched a good chunk of it. And then I was like, cool, this inspired this live stream. So I was like, all right, now that you've inspired this live stream, I'm going to go start, see if you put any clips on X. So I roll over to X and I go to her account and I'm like, all right, cool. Let's see. Wait, what happened here? Hold on. This is what happens when you have a live show with no producer. I thought I put these things in here, but apparently I didn't. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second, 2 seconds. Give me 2 screenshots. There we go. Open. I probably restarted it before they uploaded. But anyway, so I was like, okay, maybe Tree of Logic post some clips of it on her X account because I know I follow her on X. So I roll over to X this morning. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, all right, cool. Let me start pulling, videos or whatever. I put her in the search bar, and then like, when you can't comment or whatever, you can't retweet or anything, it's like grayed out. And I was like, oh, that's weird. So I hit the follow button, and it was like, you can't do this right now, or whatever alert popped up. And I was like, huh? So I restart the app. I was like, what? What happened? So I tried to go follow somebody else, and it let me follow them with no problem. So I was like, okay, well, that's weird. So I was like, maybe something's wrong with her channel. Mind you, I have never been blocked on X. So I don't know what happens when you get blocked on X. At least to my knowledge, I've never been blocked. And I've never been blocked by somebody whose page I will go click on later. So I don't know. So apparently she has blocked me. And I was like, well, what did I do? Why am I the drama? I'm literally racking my brain trying to figure out what I could have said to her that would have gotten me blocked. And I'm like, I don't think I've never gotten to like a kerfuffle with her on X or on YouTube. I'm like, I've never had an issue with her. Again, I don't agree with every take, but that's fine. I don't expect everybody to agree with me all the time. That's a stupid position to say, oh, you follow me, you support me, you have to agree with everything I say. That's the stupidest way to go about your platform. And so I I was like, okay. So I put in the search bar, I was like, AJ's Rant Room, Tree of Logic. And then this came up. I was like, oh, I forgot all about this. And it wasn't even disrespectful. So this is when Beyonce dropped the Cowboy Carter, right? And so Variety did a piece on it, and how, what inspired it, and how she didn't feel welcomed when she performed in the country space. Fine, I get that. All right, cool. So she says, no matter how rich you Negroes get, you always got to play the victim card. Damn. And I'm sitting there like, that's not her being a victim. That's not Beyonce being a victim. And literally, if you read the messages when she performed at the CMAs, they were vicious. They were horrible to her. They were absolutely freaking racist. So it's not her playing victim. She turned lemons into lemonade. She said, you know what? I'm gonna just do a whole country album. Even though I don't think the album's really all country. It's like a fusion album. So all I said was she empowered herself and created art from a bad experience. How is that playing the victim? That's literally part of the assignment of an artist, to take life's challenges and turn them into triumph. I don't see victimhood here. That's all I said. Mind you, I sent that and forgot all about it. Never looked back. Never looked back. I didn't even know she responded to it until this morning. This was over a year ago. She says, look, Tyrone. I'm Tyrone, apparently. Whatever. No one asked her to join the CMTs. That's what's wrong with your filthy. That's what's wrong with. I bet she meant to say you filthy basketball Americans. You go into places expecting to have your asses kissed. No, that was not what I was saying at all. First of all, I don't go into any place expecting my ass kissed, and I don't think she did either. But it's one thing to sort of be, to have trepidation with her being there, but it's another thing to start calling her racial epithets. But anyway, um, when it doesn't happen, you get mad and blame Whitey. Shut the fuck up. Okay, so if you don't follow Tree of Logic, she has a strong disdain for black people. She's a black woman herself, you'll see. But she has a strong disdain for black people. Like she like and whatever. I'm not thinking I'm the type of black people she don't like, but apparently if a black person has an opinion she doesn't like, we're Tyrones and we're basketball Americans and then we get blocked. But here's the irony in that. Beyonce's the victim. Beyonce's playing victim. You couldn't take me saying she empowered herself and created art from a bad experience, which most of us artists do. We take pain and we turn it into art. How is that playing the victim? The playing the victim would have been if she just kept writing blogs about, oh, these country music award people did nothing about it, right? And I'm just, was I disrespectful? Was this response disrespectful? Tell me the truth, y'all. Is that disrespectful? Is what I said disrespectful? Did I say anything crazy? Did I call her a name? Or did I just express a dissenting opinion? Did I say something crazy? I just want to make sure because sometimes I could go off the rails. So I just want to make sure. Did I go off the rails here? Did I say something crazy? Just let me know. Let me know. I know it's like a 30-second delay. So I'm gonna wait for y'all to respond because I just want to know. I just want to confirm that saying she empowered herself and created art from a bad experience. How is that playing the victim? That's literally the assignment of an artist. That's literally the assignment of an artist. As an artist, I know that. To take life's challenges and turn them into triumph. I don't see the victimhood here. Okay, cool. Because I don't get how I got to look Tyrone. No one asked her to join the CMTs. That's what's wrong with you filthy basketball Americans. You go into places expecting to have your ass kissed. When it doesn't happen, you get mad and blame Whitey. Shut the fuck up. Listen, no love lost. Maybe one day we'll be able to talk and you'll see that you actually played the victim in someone simply responding and you lumped me in with every black stereotype that you could. And I can promise you this, I am more educated than you, I'm smarter than you. Right. I may not have been law enforcement and done the things that you've done well for yourself, but to sit here and reduce me to a bunch of black stereotypes because I have this is the problem I have with some conservatives. Can we talk for a minute? I know we got to get back to Candace. Can we talk for a minute? This is why I say the left and like conservatives and liberals, like sometimes y'all literally are the same people, right? And so literally conservatives are cool with me as long as they like my opinion, right? Not all. Like there are conservatives who can have a smart dissent and push back with logic, facts, and evidence. But for the most part, a lot of them will act like the liberals they claim to hate. Literally the same behavior. Just that you have one set of talking points and they have one set of talking points. So if a black person has an opinion that goes against what you're saying, then they become every stereotype in the book. They become every marginalized babble, babble, babble in the book. And that's a fucked up way to go about life. Because guess what? My black ass has the right. You posted it on a public forum. And I, as someone who supported, I still support you. I don't give a fuck about this tweet. Who supports you is just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Tyrone, clearly you don't know me. Please put it back up. Tyrone, like AJ's a Tyrone? Oh wow. She saw my picture. She saw that I was black, and she probably never even clicked on the page before she blocked me. And she just assumed all of the things because she has all of this black trauma. which is fine. We all have some black trauma. I have black trauma. But when no one's called you a name and no one said that you couldn't express yourself, literally, I'm just posting a dissenting opinion. That's it. And I'm allowed to. And just because my skin is brown doesn't mean I'm a basketball American. It doesn't mean I walk into places expecting to get my ass kissed. And it doesn't mean I blame white people every time something doesn't work out. That's far from who I am. Far from who I am. So yeah, I think you played the victim here, Tree of Logic. You really did. And then to block me on top of that. Like I said something so egregious, so horrible. Oh my God. Which was so funny because in her live stream last week, I was posting comments and she was responding. I mean, she probably doesn't even remember this shit. And I'm just like, bro, just pump your brakes. Like it ain't that serious. But anyway, back to Candace. So with that said, and I'm gonna still share her live stream and all of that, and I'll post it down in the comment in the what is that description below. Wait, what happened? Oh, there it is. Did we she she was mad at me. Wait, where did it go? Damn it. Hold on. But that was my tree of logic. But no love lost. One day, maybe one day we'll have a conversation about it. But anyway, where are we? Here it is. All right, cool.
Have you heard about
So,
Pro?
not
This is the
commercials.
cutting-edge
I'm on the wrong
portable
account.
Wi-Fi hotspot
Okay,
that people
well,
wish they
whatever.
found
We'll
out
thug
about.
it out. So, here's her talking about Candace. Roll it.
So I made a video. I said, hey, I know you
Can y'all
guys are
hear it?
looking for your Harriet
Because I
Damn
can't
Tubman.
hear it.
I know you looking
Oh,
for
there
the
we go.
female JFK or Martin Luther King for the right. But
Why
this
is it so
woman
low?
is evil. She has a doxxing site called
Oh,
Social
hold
Autopsy.
on.
And guess what?
We're having an issue.
Everybody's docs on there if they've been if and it's going to be released in 2 weeks. No, maybe 3 weeks.
Can y'all hear it?
Right? Now, those of you who don't know, okay, those of you who don't know, I was a police officer and I locked up many people. But I locked up 2 men who took it really, really personally. One was a gang leader and the other one was a drug lord. Well, not, I guess you could say drug knight. He was a major drug dealer. And because of my arrest and because of my testimony and because I was very sharp in preserving the evidence that they tried to destroy until backup came, we were able to get a conviction. Both of them serve, one served 23 years, the other one served 25 years. And they made sure to let me know during their sentencing. As a matter of fact, while they were in jail today, their number one goal when they get out is to find me and to kill me if I have kids, to kill my children, to if I'm married, to kill my husband, to kill my family, just to make my family. I didn't have any family at the time, right? But to make anything that I love, they were going to kill me.
Okay, so she's talking about how when she was an officer, she put away 2 people. They threatened her life. I went over that already. And so let's hopefully the Candace part is coming here.
Now, I've changed my look, dreadlocks, okay? But I changed my name, I changed my location, I changed everything I could about myself. There are 2 things I can't change. Okay, is my race and my height. I know what y'all about to say. You could put on some bleaching cream. Nah, I wasn't gonna bleach my skin. So my family knew what I did, and they knew I left policing. I had some very close friends here who knew about my story. So I had a rivalry with a first cousin. She hates me, I hate her. It is what it is, right? So she told me, "Yeah, bitch, I got you now. Ha ha. When that site get launched, guess who gonna find you?"
Wow. That's crazy. It be your own people selling you out. Hold on, let's move this over here. Booyah. So it's unfolding. So this is how we come in Candace.
So
She comes into Candace.
I remember, I'll never forget this. I went to Kiwi Farms, and Kiwi Farms found a way to get inside the doxing site, Social Autopsy.
Wow.
And I'm very thankful for Kiwi Farms, right? I know they get a lot of, hate, but I went to the thread, and there they were posting up all the doxings that were put by random people. You understand? Anyone can put your docs on this site, and you could be as young as 9 years old or 8 years old and have your docs on there. And people are like, "Why are you allowing little children to be on this doxing site?" And her reply was, "It's best to show them how to be respectful on the internet at a young age than to basically learn when they're adults. That way, when they get older, we don't have to teach them how to be respectful."
Wow. Well, that's pretty crazy, Candace. Um You're doxing 9-year olds, bro? Like that's not cool. Um oh yeah, it's always the ones closest to you. Trust me. I'll tell you my story one day. Anyway, Candace. Now, I remember the first time I heard of Social Autopsy was when she was on was it Dave Rubin? It's Dave Rubin, I believe. And she was on Dave Rubin's show and she was debating or arguing, I should say, with Blair White, who was the transgender conservative person. And they were debating and that was one of Blair's really sticking points was that that website. And so yeah.
So after reading how they got into the back door, I followed the instructions and I got inside the website. And guess whose docs? Full docs. Let me tell you something.
Wow.
This website wasn't just a basic doc, your name and your age and your address. Oh no, honey.
Wow.
It had your elementary school, your middle school, your high school, any colleges or universities you went to. It had listed all your social media links, all of them.
Jeez.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. TikTok wasn't around back then, by the way. Even if you were on other spaces like what was that, Black Planet or something like that, any place where you were active,
wow,
it had the link to that. Oh, but wait, there's more. It had your birth name, your legal name, and if you got married, your maiden name and your married name, and who you were. No, it didn't have who you were married to. Sorry.
wow.
It had your age, it had your addresses, but it also had your work address and the name of your damn job.
Wow. And the way Candace downplayed this at the beginning of her career as a conservative, crazy. She downplayed this so much. That's ridiculous.
This was the doxing sites of all doxing sites.
Wow.
I did a video when I found out and I saw not only did it had all that information on there, but it had pictures that nobody else had, but only my biological family have these pictures.
So now you got your own people selling pictures or giving pictures to a doxing site because you have a gripe with them. Listen, I have ex sisters. Yeah, I said it. Ex sisters. I have ex siblings who I will probably never talk to again, and that's fine with me. But I'm never gonna like put sell their personal information to people to be spiteful. I will never do that. Do better.
Pictures, I'm like, oh yeah, that did come from my cousin.
Hmm. Not the commercial.
Yes. I remember.
If we get another one, I'm going to
Oh,
my
did I
other
not
phone.
mention this? Yeah, I mentioned the school. I did mention school. I said your elementary school, middle school. I mentioned the schools. Okay. So I'm sitting here saying, and my heart sank to my feet.
Hmm.
And I went to Candace because Candace had a website. I'm sorry, Candace wasn't known as Candace Owens. She was known as Red Pale Black. That name was given to her by Mike Cernovic.
Hmm.
And I tweeted to her. I said, "Hey, my full docs is on your site.
Mm-mm.
Please, I have two men who are out of jail looking to kill me. If they see all of my information plus my pictures, that these are like, this is the reason why y'all want to know why I always have a hat or a bandana. It's because of, still trying, even though one of them is dead and we don't know where the other one is doing, whatever, blah, blah. I don't fear the one that survived at all. Okay. But I begged her, I said, take it down. She blocked me.
I'm not laughing at, the doxing part. I'm laughing at the getting blocked part. Because isn't it funny? I got blocked for pushing back on a Beyonce album review or whatever. So we get the point. She started with this doxing site, and the people were not happy. And anybody who resisted, she got rid of, basically. And this is how you know when someone's a plant. When they have a lot of power around them, all of a sudden there's these powerful people that can keep you away from them, that can block you, that can literally destroy what you do, can blacklist you. Because she got blacklisted. Treehouse, she got blacklisted when she wouldn't go along with the Candace Owens' everything, and we love her. She got blacklisted. That's why she didn't grow with the Tatums and the Owens. She didn't grow with them because she didn't play the game. And I hate when these conservatives act like corporate America. It irritates my chakra. So we started there with Candace. Candace came on, oh, vote for Trump, red hats, taking black folks to the White House, all of that good stuff. And then something changed when the 2024 election cycle came around. She started batting for Vivek Ramaswamy, which is fine. I like to look at all the candidates, see if anybody, is like cool. And I'm like, okay, Trump is cool, but I kind of like this person over here. But it didn't happen. Nobody really like probed me in that way. So I still went with Trump. And if you notice, Candace was absent from the whole campaign. She wasn't at a rally. She didn't do much in terms of um any sort of campaigning for Trump or press for Trump or anything. She did nothing. And so that was kind of odd. So then he gets elected, and then she doesn't get a cabinet position because people were thinking she would either get a cabinet position or some sort of job, in the government. But then that didn't happen. And then all of a sudden it became this big, then the gripe with Israel came along, and the whole fallout with Daily Wire and all of that stuff. And what's so odd is, and I get having the gripe with Israel. I get it. I do think we do a lot, right? But this whole notion that Israel is public enemy number one, no, it's your public. Like, this is visceral hate for Israel, which I'm not the biggest lover of Israel. I'm not a Zionist by no means. But to be this strong in your contention, either there's something you're not telling us because it doesn't make sense, or this is, you've told us everything and we just looking at you like you crazy. So I don't know which one it is. Maybe one or the other. I don't know. um I don't think the bounty was successful. Occasion. I don't think the bounty was successful, but good luck to her. But we'll get there in a moment. So she goes. This is one of her first critiques of Trump, and I believe this was from January. It was early in Trump 2.0.
Way as an extension of that, also the MAGA movement. It sort of feels like they're doing the bare minimum for Americans and what we actually put them in office for, and then doing the absolute maximum for like Bibi Netanyahu's entire agenda, while being like, oh, but look, we did, at least Tom Homan did get out 2,000 criminals in the border. We've stopped it, and we've asked you for a lot more. The mandate was a lot more.
Okay, so I think what at this time, I don't know if she'll retract it because she's not very good at humbling herself and saying, you know what, my bad, I got that wrong. Is that we didn't factor in that Trump was getting stopped by all of these judges. Everything he tried to do was getting stopped, and so that was a big factor. So now that we've been free of these activist judges imposing these national injunctions, now we can see how Trump moves. But I always think the agenda is still America first. I'm not going to believe that it never was. And you can tell by the actions. Like if he really, Trump could have just said, you know what, my hands are tied, I can't get any more done. But that's not Trump. Trump and his team will always figure it out, and they figured it out constitutionally. They figured it out. How are these lower courts able to stop the executive branch? Oh, they can't. Boom.
And you seem to have, in just 3 months, done so much for Israel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we could dedicate that same energy to what you promised everyone that you were going to do for Americans, that would be great. But once again, we're left feeling like this is just a slave colony.
Yeah. And the fact,
not a slave colony. See, y'all gonna make me side. Ben Shapiro might have been on to something when he said faux intellectual. The faux intellect on some of these subjects. I think she's a smart woman. I think she's well read on the issues and well versed on the issues. But this extreme disdain for Israel, I'm still not sold on it, Candace.
That the movement is called America First originally, and that is a stroke of genius because it is so hard. They're trying their best, but it's so hard to make what they're doing look America first. And they're trying to do all these backwards arguments. Like, how is passing speech laws that like in some cases criminalize, or at the very least, kick you out of school, pull your federal funding if you criticize Israel?
Well, speaking of that, Harvard got a warning today from Trump on anti-Semitic behavior, which I made a video and I agreed to a degree with Candace on this issue, is that you are allowing a foreign nation to circumvent, to sort of go around the First Amendment through our federal government to threaten the funding of institutions in the United States. I don't agree with that. I don't agree that Jewish people should be taunted or beat up or anything like that, but you should be able to question things. You should be able to say that I have another theory, or I have another belief, or whatever it is, right? But when you're telling me something as saying that a Jewish person has more allegiance to Israel is anti-Semitic, that's bullshit. There are many people in this country who have allegiances to other nations, and you can say that outright and it's never an issue. So why is it when we say it about y'all, it's an issue? So yeah, there's just certain things I don't agree with. And with the working definition of anti-Semitism that has been imposed on these institutions, yeah, I'm kind of on the side of you can't really do that in America, and especially through our federal government, because literally the First Amendment protects their free speech. So if the government from what's the word I'm looking for? Obstructing their free speech. So if you if another nation has used our federal government for that very reason, then yes, I agree with whoever this is right here. I don't know who she's talking to here, but I agree with him.
There are no laws about racism in America. If you Google right now, there is no recognized definition of racism by our government. But if you Google America's official definition of anti-Semitism, there's a whole page on the State Department's website.
Of course there is. And I don't agree with that either. That should not be a thing. If you're going to do it for one, you have to do it for the other, and you got to do it for everybody else, right? So then, because obviously unaliving a Jewish person, obstructing, their ability to get where they need to go, all of that stuff is already a crime, right? That's already detailed in the law. So why does it have to be specific for this group? I don't know. And that's the argument I have. But I don't have this great disdain for Israel to the point where I'm like, everything they do is wrong. I don't get stuff like that. But here's Candace Owens on. So fast forward. So now we're on to the Iranian strikes happened, and we got out of there, and Trump was like, okay, cool, we did our part. Trump negotiated the ceasefire, all of that stuff. If Israel and Iran want to still go at it, that's on them at this point. But this goes to show, because she's accused Trump often of being a puppet for Israel, and how he conducted himself after those strikes proves that he's not a puppet of Israel. It proves it right there. He literally was so frustrated with them that he they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Because you could tell he had good intentions. He was working with his ally, his friend, and he did his part. The U.S. did their part in that, even though I don't think we should have had a part at all. But I get it. We were the only ones that could do it, and we did it. And then after we did it, y'all kept fighting. Okay, cool. But this is Candace Owens on Piers Morgan. Go.
Are you done with Donald Trump, or could you see a way that you would end up perhaps voting for him? Oh, he can't run again, obviously, but would you support him publicly again?
So I want to be clear. I don't regret voting for Donald Trump above Kamala. I think he was the better candidate, certainly a better candidate above Joe Biden. But what I will say is that he's been a chronic disappointment. And I feel embarrassed that I told people to go vote for him, because this wasn't going to happen, and it is happening. But I just think that the picture of politics in America is going to look very differently because of his actions. So I don't know where we go from here. I really don't. But this is not the candidate that I voted for.
That's a bit extreme, Candace. Here's the thing. Also in that interview, she was asked about telling the military to basically get a dishonorable discharge instead of going to fight, which isn't going to happen. I don't believe we're going to enter a war with Iran. But to sit here and tell soldiers to break the law is a bit ridiculous. And the fact that she tripled and doubled down and quadrupled down on it is crazy. When you're in these positions, like CeCe Winans said, with a great platform comes great responsibility, and you have a great platform, Candace. You have a platform I wish I had. But you have to understand that with that platform comes great responsibility. So when you're wrong, you have to be able to humble yourself and say, I messed up. I misspoke. I got ahead of myself. I was feeling the moment. We've all been there. You're feeling the moment, and then you just do or say something really crazy. And that's fine. I apologize. My bad. I should have never recommended that servicemen and women get a dishonorable discharge. I should have never said that. Should have never ever said that. But she couldn't even bring herself. But let's go back to this. Oh, thank you, Jay Lee. Yes, let's go back to this chronic disappointment. How has he been a chronic disappointment? Now, there's some things I don't agree with. And like I even said when this Iran thing popped off, I said, trust the process. I'm going to trust the process. I don't like it. I don't understand it. But I'm going to trust the process, right? He's seeing things that we're not seeing. I'm going to still critique it as I see fit, right? Because this looked like weapons of mass destruction 2.0 from my purview. But I'm going to trust the process. And then when we figured out what he was we were like, oh, okay, cool. Cool. I don't really like it, but I understand why you did it. And here's where The foo-la-la comes in. So I don't get the chronic disappointment. Like, how has he been a chronic disappointment? You know, like we're supposed to abandon Israel altogether and just say, you figure it out. I think at this point with this particular conflict, yes, that is the case. I think Trump is like, you're on your own now. You're on your own, kid, because I'm not doing any more for you. And I don't think he should. You know, I think we did our part. You know, we know what Iran has, what they don't have. We knows what they can and can't do. We're up on a lot of these sleeper cells that are in our country. We've been able to unmask a lot of these sleeper cells. Are we going to get all of them? No. Hopefully, nothing traumatic happens. You know, and that's not the consequence for what we did. But Candace has been wilding out for a few months, from the USS Liberty to the president of France's wife, to George Floyd, to Donald Trump, to Israel, but especially Israel, which got her canned from the Daily Wire. And I don't think her canning from the Daily Wire was because she disagreed, because I believe Matt Walsh disagreed as well with Ben Shapiro. But it wasn't that you disagreed, it was how you disagreed, right? And also understanding that you're working for a company that is run by Jewish people who are very sensitive about what's going on over there right now. And whether it's a lie or the truth, we don't know. We live over here. You know, the closest thing we can get to it is by looking up their newspapers, which I've done, just to see how they report it versus how things are reported to us. You know, you do a comparison, compare and contrast, and then you just say, okay, well, clearly they're lying about this, or they're lying about that, or this isn't being shared over here. But other than that, what really can we do at that point, right? And so let's segue to, so I saw yesterday that Candace Owens debated 20 liberals. And this part was a bit interesting, because she has this affinity for Andrew Tate. If you don't know who the Tate brothers are, they're not Kevin Samuels. They are not the manosphere. They are, yeah, they're not my cup of tea, you know. And I think they're very disparaging to women. I believe they in fact, I even think they hate women. And it's just not my brand, right? You know, it's one thing to critique somebody, it's one thing to have, you know, to give somebody some correction. It's another to just be outright abusive, right? But I'm gonna play this video from Black T News, who did a great post on the whole Tate situation.
My first claim is that the sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy.
I hope at least one of those girls brought up the fact that Candace Owens' husband is good friends with Andrew Tate.
I've known Andrew for many, many years. I've known Andrew since before Andrew was Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
If you don't know who Andrew Tate is, here's a little bit about him.
I was all about trying to get paid. Like I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money. That's what I wanted. So I was a pimp in that sense.
I have seen
Listen, we all have that one friend that just does the most, right? I get it. I'm not faulting you for being friends with this person. Do whatever you want. But this man basically said he's a pimp and he used sex as a weapon. And okay, go ahead, Black T.
Seen Andrew Tate be violent toward women, talk about his violence towards women, talk about how he disrespects them and degrades them, and how he thinks so little of them, how he'll use them, get them to brand themselves with his name, and how he'll teach them how to recruit other girls into his pimping business so they can do cam stuff. And Candace Owens, from the very first meeting she had with him, knew he was a pimp. Yet she constantly had him back on her show. And I understand he's a very popular figure, right? You know, she interviews people. However, if you're going to interview negative figures like that, you could at least, I don't know, accurately talk about the cases, the criminal cases against them, and talk about the actual facts of the case instead of allowing him to just run propaganda, right? Facts. You could do that, but she continues to still have Tate on. So if she cares that much about women, standing up for women, and is disgusted by the sexual revolution, tell me why her husband is BFFs with a pimp and why she covers for the pimp so much. These topics are very important. Unfortunately, Candace Owens is not a very good advocate for them.
I first claimed.
Rare. Yeah, I never got the Andrew Tate obsession, but now it's clear. I didn't know that until I saw her video yesterday that the husband is linked with him. So here's Candace Owens defending Andrew Tate.
Nobody had an issue with you, okay, despite your case going on, until you hopped on to Piers Morgan on October 9th and said that you were pro-Palestine and called it a genocide. I watched overnight, they went from, okay, he's fine. You can talk to Andrew Tate. Everyone wanted to know Andrew Tate, figure out his platform, to a complete 180 and trying to say, well, it's not Christian, it's not this, he's a bad guy. And suddenly everybody wanted to look into Andrew Tate. That I watched that happen live, okay? So any person who would like to debate me on that, who is a neocon, who is pretending that they've held these perspectives about Andrew Tate forever, since the investigations began, please, I invite you to have that conversation with me, because you're all lying, okay? Let's not dress this up as something that it isn't. This is about Andrew Tate saying something that you don't want him to say because he's too influential. If he took a Likud party position and he said, kill every last Palestinian, he would be governor of Florida.
All right. Listen, I don't care if you're free Palestine. I don't care if you're a Zionist. I don't care. Quite frankly, that's y'all gripe to have. But to say that everything rests on the fact that he took a pro-Palestinian stance is crazy, Candace. And you know it's crazy. But talk about standing by your man. What? What? Wow. See, here's the thing. I don't always get it right, but I'm a pretty good I have what you call good insight. Like when I meet somebody, I pretty much know from that first encounter how this is going to turn out. I'll give you an example. For a lot of y'all in the chat are from TikTok, so I'll give y'all an example. There was a man named F Ball on TikTok. The first time I ever spoke to that man about, because he used to be a moderator in the very old school TikTok, right? And the first time I ever spoke to him and I looked in his eyes, I said that this man is going to turn on you. And that's why he never really got in with me, because I knew who he was before he revealed himself. I knew. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't good. And I knew not to allow it into the space, right? To a degree, right? You can help, but I'm not going to give you my phone number. I'm not going to really communicate with you outside of this. Instinct, intuition, right? Same thing when I saw Andrew Tate for the first time. I was like, nah, nothing about this dude is aspirational. His lifestyle is aspirational, but not how he got his lifestyle is aspirational to me, right? And so to see Candace protecting this person while talking about sexual revolution and sexual perversion and all of this, meanwhile you have a literal pimp for a good friend. That's a bit confusing to me. How do you reconcile that, Candace? That would be my question to you, Candace. How do you reconcile that? I would like to know how. How do you make that work exactly? Because it's a little weird for me. It's a little weird. But Now let's move on because we're over time now. But I have to get to Blexit. I have to get to Blexit because if I don't get to Blexit, I'm going to be annoyed with myself. So, Blexit. Oh, yeah. So we all know Blexit came along about 2017, 2018, and then Candace started touring with the Blexit, and the Blexit was great. And Turning Point USA was the primary sponsor and all of that stuff, right? It was great. All the foo la la. Until it wasn't. So I remember when this jumped off, right? Remember when she lied about Kanye designing the logo and Kanye got pissed off with her? It was like, I didn't do that. I see I'm being used. And then she had to, moonwalk her way out of that. Obviously, it wasn't that bad because her and Kanye are still friends. But what I also didn't know is that there was another group named Blexit. I did not know this. There's a whole other group named Blexit. And what was so weird is how Candace basically financially starved them out for the rights to the name. Wait, I don't want to go there. I want to go here. And here. No, not that one. This one. Share. All right, cool. All right, so let's go to this Forbes article. So, will the real Blexit please stand up? Close. Now, this article is from 2018. Recently, Blexit launched as a new campaign encouraging Black people to leave the Democrat Party. Announced by conservative African-American pundit and avid Trump supporter Candace Owens. You may have seen the controversy. Shortly after famed rapper Kanye West met with President Trump, Owens credited West with the design of the campaign's merchandise. West denied his role and denounced the campaign. Owens backtracked her statements. Oh, yeah, she moonwalked. But this MAGA endorsed controversy is not the controversy I'm here to talk about. Blexit was in fact already a movement that has nothing to do with a political party, logo disputes, or a rapper's media frenzy. It was and continues to be a strategic move toward Black economic independence by encouraging African Americans to leave the traditional financial systems that have for so long taken advantage of the Black community. This new this new use of the term Blexit as an attempt to attract African Americans to the Republican Party was used without permission and is merely a distraction from the original commendable mission of racial and economic justice. I'm going to scroll down here. So these are the original Blexit people. So it was organization. This is what BLM marketed itself as, but these are actually the people who gave a damn about the community, right? These are the people who care about the community. These are the people who want the community to prosper and do better. These are the people who are actually on Malcolm X's vision. These are the people, these Black folks. Not and quickly about the Blexit rally. So I went to one Blexit rally, one. And it was in LA. That's where I lived when Trump was elected. And I went to downtown LA. It was I forgot the theater's name. I go there, I'm standing on line, and I'm like, Blexit. Now you would think something called Blexit, there'd be more niggas on this line, right? And I love white people. I love white people. I love Hispanic people. I love all people, right? But if this is a Blexit event, you're asking Black people. You're trying to educate Black people on the harms of the Democrat Party, but they're not there. So I stand on the line to get in, and like 5 bloggers run up to me. Hi, can I talk to you? Can I talk to you? And I'm like, what the hell are you fascinated with me for? I'm nobody. And I realized, because I'm like one of like 3 black people on the line. And I'm like, so we get inside, and I brought like 5 friends with me, and we all in there, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This is amazing. And I'm just like, where are the black people? Where are the black people? There's more black people speaking than in the audience. This is crazy. And preaching to the choir, how are you creating a Blexit by preaching to the choir? That's just really weird to me. You know, these folks are already on board. The black people who are here already are conservatives. So where is the movement? You know, and then you get people like D-Ron and who will defend this stuff, like, you know, however, they will defend it in any way and every way. And I'm like, but where are the black people? If the goal is to get black people to exit the Democrat Party, where are the black people? Why are they not here? Why weren't they invited? Why weren't they bussed in? Second of all, why isn't this being done in a predominantly black neighborhood? Downtown LA is diverse, but downtown LA is not the hood where you're trying to reach out to people. So why aren't you down at the Coliseum or something in the hood? So it's just stuff like that that didn't make sense to me at first, you know? And so, it's a wait, hold on. There was another part of this article I wanted to read. No. That's just the beginning. At the time of this writing, Blexit is hard at work on a number of campaigns with topics ranging from big banks, payday lending, public schools, retail, and holiday consumerism, state fairs, black farmers, and black ally criteria. Today, Blexit has members across the United States supporting its grassroots action. This is what grassroots looks like, people. When your quote unquote organically black organization comes in with 3 fat black lesbians as the head of it, it's probably not black. It's probably not for and by black people. Just want to let you know that. The organization outlines the local comprehensive problems at hand and proposes solutions for everyday people, like in cases of payday lending or gentrification. Now, there was a part where they talked about where they sent the cease and desist. Okay. Not only did the co-opted Blexit campaign steal Connolly's term, it advocated for a political stance that Connolly finds so counter to what we view as an inclusive future for black people. Now, I don't agree with her on that part, but whatever. The real Blexit served Candace Owens with 2 cease and desist letters for co-opting their term. Now, with Candace Owens, because of course, this organically, you know, person who found conservatism in the most organic way suddenly has a team of lawyers who can protect her and starve out organizations who don't have the capital to keep defending legal nonsense. She gets the name. So y'all tell me, is that a plant or is that organic? Is that a person who truly came into the conservative movement through their own volition? They just had an epiphany one day and said, you know what? I like this platform better than this platform. I'm going to go over here. It was never organic, y'all. It was never organic. It was never. Blexit was never for black people. For Blexit would have events in black neighborhoods, even the rough ones. You say you want to talk to the people, you got to go to the people. You have to go to the this is your mission and vision, not mine. I got no interest. But if it's your mission and your vision and you preaching to the choir and you talking to white people, how does that affect black folks? The black folks you trying to reach, how does that affect them? How does that support changing their minds or getting them to see something in a different way? How does that support that if they ain't even in the damn building? And there's a Blexit event coming up in July. I would love to see what the audiences look like at this point. I'm pretty sure there's still not majority black folks in there. I'm a little bewildered on this whole Candace Owens thing. I don't feel duped because it was always the caution, right? Because you see how people move. Even at that Blexit event, you know, she was so unapproachable, unattainable, right? She was not. She never, like Brandon Tatum, Rob Smith, other people came down into the crowd, talked to people, was real personable. She was very like this. Like it was very much like, don't get close to her. You could tell there was like a security guard that would jump on you if you tried it. And so it was just that weird energy. And it was like, I don't know if this is organic. Because I get wanting to protect yourself, because I get people online are crazy and they see that you're somewhere in public and they might try something. I get that. But if you don't even have the people in the building, that literally defeats the purpose. If I say, hey, I want to start marketing to black people about conservatism, I'm not going to do it in a way. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to not invite them, and I'm not going to not go to their neighborhoods. Then what are we talking about here? You know, if I want to start going to those neighborhoods, talking about the myths of the Republican Party, the myths of the Democrat Party, why black folks are majority Democrats, those are conversations you can have, but you got to go to the people with that. You can't have it from your affluent auditorium in downtown LA. That's not how that works. You got to go down to Compton and Watts. You got to go down to majority black neighborhoods and talk to the people. So yeah, if most of the Blexit audience is not black, then where's the Blexit happening? Candace, I'll wait for an answer. Is she even really that involved with the organ? I know she speaks sometimes, but is she really that involved anymore with Blexit? I feel like she's moved on in her career leaps and bounds, and Blexit is was sort of like a stepping stone to just do something to get somewhere else. So it was weird. And most of the and a lot of the speakers, well, yeah, most of the speakers are black. There are a few white ones and non blacks, but which is fine. I don't care about that. I just care, like, if the mission and the vision doesn't look like it's moving in action and on purpose, then what are we really doing here, Candace? Candace. And then another bad sign of leadership, like I said, is when you're not able to humble yourself and say, you know what, I messed up. I misspoke. I gave bad advice. I was totally wrong on this issue. Because there were a couple of times in that Piers Morgan interview where he corrected her. And she was like, yeah, I just want to get at it. And I'm like, but you take the correction. Take the correction. Like, it's okay to take the correction, to humble yourself and say, I don't know. Saying I don't know doesn't mean you're weak. Right. Acting like you do know and lying to people is what makes you look weak, at least to people like me. Because when you double and you triple down on telling people to dishonorably discharge from the military, yeah, I kind of got to give you side eye on that one. Now, am I going to unfollow Candace Owens? I don't know. I'm not there yet. Like I said, a broken clock is right twice a day, but I'm just sick of this anti-Israel mission. I'm bored. Clearly there's a gripe with Trump because he didn't ask her, or she didn't want to campaign for him. I don't know what happened, right? But clearly there was some sort of break there. And to go from not voting for Trump to all of a sudden you're his biggest cheerleader, to all of a sudden you're now the megastar in the face of the conservative movement, I got some questions. And white people, pull up right quick. Y'all don't have to have such trepidations when you critique this woman. You don't have to preface with, I'm not racist. You don't have to preface with, I don't have an issue with her race or ethnicity or whatever. No one cares. If you don't like somebody, you don't like them. right? And if people want to make the judgment that it's because of race, then that's their issue to work with. But Candace put herself in this position. Period. Full stop. And so it just, I just hate when people do that. Well, I'm not racist. I'm just critique. Why do I need to know you're not racist? If you're not racist, I will experience that, right? Okay, cool. So you having a gripe with a black person doesn't mean you're racist. A person who just happens to be black doesn't mean you're racist. Like, come on, let's get a little more mature about this. But yeah, hopefully, Candace will actually pray and get off her I'm the smartest person in the room high horse, because you never want to be the smartest person in the room all the time. Most of the time, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, because once you stop learning, well, what the hell are you alive for? What is the point? Just go. Move on to the next life. You fulfilled everything. You know everything, right? So yeah, I dislike everybody equally too, Kansas. Yes. I dislike most people. I don't care what you voted for. I don't care what you like. You probably will annoy me within a few moments. But anyway, that's all I got. Hopefully that was a cohesive round of exposure on Miss Owens. And I hope she's good. Pray for Sister Owens. Hopefully Sister Owens comes around and can admit the error of her ways. And I don't know about the MAGA part. Clearly she has disavowed, and that's fine. Do what you want. It's not a cult. It's not Jehovah's Witness. Do as you wish. And but I appreciate y'all for watching. Thank you so much. We will catch y'all tonight on the Rant Experience. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the YouTubes. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you. Peace.